the November 22nd Oshkosh Common Council meeting. Please call the roll.
Erickson,
Here.
Ford,
Here.
Mugrower,
Here.
Hanson,
Here.
Miller excused, Wojciechowski,
Here.
Palmieri.
Here. All right, and Councilmember Erickson will lead us in the invocation, and then I'll come down and join the Franklin School and Washington Elementary Schools for the pledge.
We come together this evening to discuss the issues that confront our city. May we honor those who have come before us, including the original stewards of this area, the Menominee and Ho-Chunk nations. May our decisions tonight improve the quality of life in our city and for our residents.
Who wants to hold the microphone? You don't have to. I'll hold it for you. All right.
If you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you so much. You can stick around for the rest of the meeting, or you can go ahead and head on home if you like. Thank you so much for leading us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Right? My son in the school district. Yeah. The next couple of weeks, I'm thinking of forcing him to wait for the whole meeting.
Let's see here. One moment here.
Okay.
Were we supposed to have a proclamation that wasn't in my folder?
That makes more sense.
Do we have a proclamation for small business Saturday? Wasn't in the folder.
It's not in the folder. I didn't see it. I thought
I have
you were-
to apologize. We are missing a proclamation. We may have to read that on location downtown. My apologies.
And I really,
Yes.
thank you.
I would like to say the proclamation that we were going to read tonight is promoting Small Business Saturday for everyone. So I'm sorry, before you take off, did you want to just mention what some of the highlights are? Step right up there.
Hi, I'm Josie Meidel. I manage the downtown bid. Obviously, downtown, we put a lot of focus on supporting small. Many of you know this Saturday is Small Business Saturday, so November 26th. All of our stores will have tons of deals, specials, promos, and things going on. We promote that all on our website. They also have Black Friday sales and things going on as well. And then we do a lot throughout the whole holiday season to support local and promote our local businesses. So if you'd like to learn anything more about what's happening for the holiday season, you can do that at downtownoshkosh.com. Thank you for your time.
You. Thank you so much. Appreciate your patience. All right, we have a presentation tonight on a TIF presentation for the City Center parking ramp. Mr. Kepler.
My name is Kurt Kepler. I live at 1726 River Mill Road in Oshkosh. And I'm one of the managing partners and owners of City Center. And I'm here for a presentation about our application for some TIF assistance to continue the reconstruction of our parking deck. I'll give you a brief history of the project. We purchased it in 2001. Since then, we've invested over $12 million in the property. It was 65% vacant when we first bought it, and our first heat bill in January was $75,000. So it was quite a shock, and it was we knew we had a long road to go. The owners are Jeff Pauley, Jim Larson, and myself, and when we bought it, we split it into 2 condominium properties. The city center proper and the 4-imprint is a separate TIF. The current status of the property, there's over 2,000 people employed there. We have a total of 23 tenants. The property value has increased over $11 million on the city center proper since we bought it, and $6 million on the 4-imprint condominium property as of today. It initially was assessed when we bought it at $1 million. So we've increased the value of the property by $17 million since we've owned it. What we want to do is just continue and accelerate the reconstruction and resurfacing of the parking deck, which is in need of repair. We've done a considerable amount. You can see on the screen, I'm not sure you can see the dates, but it shows the progress we've made and the portion we have yet to do. Substantially, the rest of the deck that needs to be resurfaced and restructured is the 3rd floor. So we'll be working on that come spring. It consists of stripping the existing structure, repairing all the concrete, and putting a new waterproof membrane down that should be good for 20 to 25 years. All the work that's being done is in conjunction with a company called WJE Engineering. They are in charge of deciding on what to be done and how it should be done, and inspection at every stage. So we know we're doing it the right way. We need to accelerate the repairs so we can attract and retain new tenants. One of the major concerns is 4-imprint. I'm sure that everybody here would like them to stay downtown, and we're working to that end, and accelerating the reconstruction of the parking deck will facilitate that need. We think we've taken an eyesore and turned it into a pretty nice destination place. Any reimbursement of any available TIF money will be done off contractor invoices and approved by our engineering firm. That's about it. We'd like to get your support in this matter. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And we'll continue to try and make this a destination and a beautiful place for Oshkosh. Any questions?
What's the ask, the amount in the time frame?
I can't hear you.
What is the ask? I mean, how much are you asking for, or hoping to
Well,
get?
it's a
How much do you need?
percentage based on the availability of the TIF money that we've generated over and above. The TIF for 4-imprint is still open. So there is excess money that we've created due to the payment of taxes at an accelerated rate.
Okay.
Mark, correct me if this is pretty complicated, correct me if I'm wrong on anything, but I believe that's the way it works. So, and there's a percentage that we can take. It's not the full amount. It's based on the total cost of the invoices we submit, and there'll be a percentage of the available TIF money available to us.
I can elaborate just a little bit. Based on our TID policy that we do have, no more than 25% of the project costs could be used with TIF. So the TIF would be capped no more than 25%. Obviously, that's our policy, but that, what the final terms of that agreement would be entirely up to council. The city center actually has 2 different TIDs on it. TID 15 totally encompasses the 4-imprint area, and then the remaining part of the city center is TID 17. Both of those TIDs do have surplus TIF right now, funds in them. increment and do not have any, pay-goes or anything else with them right now. So there is some funding that could be utilized to help facilitate if council wishes.
And it's my understanding, TID 17 was actually a donor to, was it a donor to 15?
TID 25.
TID 25.
For, yep, the Riverwalk.
Okay.
And some of the work we did when the hotel was being redeveloped in 2012, 2013. So we do need to pay those funds back to TID 17 before TID 17 closes in 2029.
Okay, all right. Other council members, questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. This request, would it be coming in under both TIDs or just City Center? For Imprint and City Center, or just City Center
Could you
request?
speak up, Matt? I've got a terrible sinus
No,
infection.
would the request that you're possibly bringing, the TID request, the TIF request, is it going to come in under City Center, or is it going to come under For Imprint, or both?
There's a contractual agreement between the For Imprint property and City Center that we have, the For Imprint TIF has to pay a proportion of the total cost of the deck reconstruction. That money will be used to pay the For Imprint share of the cost for the total rehabbing.
Okay. Second part, and this is, you probably don't have answers for this one, but I think this one's probably important. These TIDs were about putting jobs downtown. I think plain and simple, it was about renovating this space and getting employers to stay downtown, attract and retain employees downtown. Right now, we're in a interesting, hopefully post-COVID environment where office space, we don't know what's needed in terms of employee usage. And basically what I'm trying to get to is, while those employers have about 2,000 people employed there, how many are actually in that building? How many are coming to the city center complex to actually use it in terms of the usage of that office space?
That's a question that I really don't have a number on.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, that gradually most people are coming back. The trend now in commercial rehab and commercial space is to create more of a kind of a hometown feeling where there's areas where people can congregate and mix together. So I think that's going to be the future of commercial construction, and we're leaning towards that way. We've already got new tenants online. We're doing a major reconstruction for 10,000 square feet as we speak. But as far as people coming back, I think it's a slow process. And I know that it's happening, but I can't give you an amount.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you.
I believe that 10,000 square feet is for the expansion for the dental
Lori,
partnership.
I just can't hear you, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I believe that 10,000 square feet is for the dental partnership that's coming in and expanding, the dental partnership, new tenants.
Yes, that is
Yes.
correct. We should start construction within 90 days.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're at citizen statements to council. Jesse, do we have anyone registered for citizen statements?
We do not.
All right, and we'll move on to consent agenda. Is there anyone registered for any of the consent items?
Let me double check. No.
All right, we'll take a motion and a second from council.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. I would like to pull item number 24, Resolution 22502. So if we could vote then on consent minus item 24.
Sorry about that.
going to call the roll on consent minus item 24?
Erickson?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Mugrower?
Aye.
Hanson?
Aye.
Wojciechowski?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 6.
All right. Let's get, this is Resolution 22502, approve special event and noise variance for the Pyrotechnics Guild International, Inc., PGI, to hold PGI 2023 convention at the Sunnyview Exposition Center and to utilize Winnebago County Community Park for parking on August 12 through 19, 2023. I could have a motion and a second on the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion. I'll lead off. I see Kathy Snell is here, if you wouldn't mind coming forward. So, question is, what is the reasoning behind the request for the noise variance? It sounds like they'd like to be able to hold this until 1 a.m.
So generally, what they do, the convention is a pyrotechnic convention, right? So they have individuals that come in. It's very family-oriented, lots of individuals who like to build fireworks, and then at night, they light them off. They have the ability to do like competitions to see how, each one has done with their building of their fireworks. And so generally, you can't start those fireworks until dark, clearly. And so they typically start around 9 p.m., 9:30, depending on when dark starts, and then they go through the evening hours until they're finished. Typically, they'll end around midnight. They do leave about an hour in there for anything that hasn't detonated, so a dud, per se. So they want to be safe and make sure that they get all of them detonated safely before they close for the night.
And it's my understanding there's about, 1,600 vendors anticipated coming in for that? Or participants?
Participants, probably. Let me back up a little bit. So there are individuals that come for the actual convention, and then they do put on fireworks shows for the entire public, 2 to 3 nights throughout that week. So that would be open to general public to get tickets. That could be anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 people per night, depending on what they do to limit ticket sales and so forth.
Okay, and I just had one other question. So it's my understanding, due to the proximity to the Humane Society, there was supposed to be some conversations or some way of mitigating. Do you know if that conversation's taken place or any of those details have been worked out?
I don't know that it has been.
I can tell you, because that was a conversation I had, I don't know if Kathy was necessarily privy to that. I had a conversation with Amy Albright from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they want to make sure they do outreach to the neighbors, and they're going to include the shelter because it's in, reasonably close proximity, knowing that will be an issue because dogs typically react pretty negatively to that. So they're going to be reaching out to make sure that they cover all their bases. And I can also tell you from, when I was in Grand Chute many years ago, PGI came there and they worked very closely. Another one of the reasons, I think Kathy did a great job of explaining, in the case of inclement weather, this is sort of because it's a trade show of sorts, showing off this stuff is more than just an entertainment value. Even though the community gets a great entertainment value for free, it's still, the show must go on type of thing. So if it rains, they'll delay it an hour or so. So that can also contribute to the 1 a.m. because they want to show these different things they have. And they have both ground displays that they'll be doing at Sunnyview or the fairgrounds, as well as aerial type of displays. It's 3 really good nights, probably the best fireworks show you're ever going to see.
And do we know whether or not Town of Buchanan, the other venue that they were looking at, if that's been approved, or is that still up in the air, or has that been voted on, do you know?
So I believe the town itself has voted and has passed that. I don't know at this time if all of the contracts and services and things like that have been arranged or if a final decision has been made. They did come to two different communities requesting for that, and really, I think it's just a determination of whether or not they can get the contracts and things in line and lined up for everything. My understanding is regardless of whether or not they are here in 2023, it's their intention to come here at some point. So, we really do hope that that's an opportunity that, we have here in Oshkosh.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's probably more for City Manager Roloff. We actually had this discussion briefly, 2 years ago, maybe 3, just pre-COVID or at the very beginning of that, because the county was considering the same request at that time, I believe. And my question only is going to center around the economic impact. This is a week-long convention, so it's not just a fireworks show. I just want to make sure the characterization is absolutely correct, because this is a week-long convention of pyrotechnic, not just enthusiasts, but professionals.
Correct.
This is significant rooms rented, not just in Oshkosh, but in the valley. But in terms of butts and beds, that's the terminology for conventions. There's going to be a fair amount of people that come here, and I think last tally or last estimate is a $5+ million economic impact for that week-long convention, if my information is correct. If it's different, please correct me, but I believe that's in the ballpark, and that's a big impact coming out of COVID. That's some room tax dollars that definitely could be used in some restaurants and some other purchases that these tourists could come to our fair city and spend. So economic impact-wise, it's a no-brainer for me.
I would suspect that this would meet or even exceed what you see with Life Fest. So it'll clearly be the second largest event that we hold this year after EAA, of course, but it will be the second largest in terms of economic impact.
Thank you.
So the decision this evening is to both approve the special event and the noise variance in one resolution. I guess it should be made clear that this isn't like 4th of July where it's one night. It's a full week, possibly 10 days, depending on rain and that. So just so folks are aware for those dates. So if there's nothing further, please call the roll.
Erickson?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Mugrower?
Aye.
Hanson? Aye. Wojciechowski?
Aye.
Palmieri?
No.
Carried 5-1.
All right, we will move on to new ordinances. There will be no action on these items. The first one is 27, ordinance 22505, and that is to extend no parking area on the south side of CP Avenue from Court Street to 120 feet west. Again, no action on these new ordinances. Ordinance 22506, approve request to annex to the city from the town of Oshkosh, Soper annexation, 3400 Jackson Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. And the third new ordinance, 22507, to cancel December 27, 2022, Common Council meeting. We'll move on then to pending ordinances. The first one, 22508, is to approve zone change from single-family residential, SR9, to urban mixed use for vacant property located on the south side of the 1900 block of Columbia Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. Do we have anyone here registered for this item?
We do not.
All right. Take a motion and a second, council.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this zone change? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Erickson,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Wojciechowski,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6.
All right. Our next pending ordinance is 22509, approve zone change from central mixed-use district with a planned development overlay to 2-flat residential district for property located at 14 West 11th Avenue. Again, Plan Commission recommends approval. Is there anyone registered on this item?
There is not.
All right, we'll take a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion on the zone change. Please call the roll.
Erickson,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Wojciechowski,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6.
New resolution 22510, approved general development plan for a hospital at the northwest corner of Oregon Street and West 6th Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval.
We do have
And
someone registered.
We do have someone registered, all right?
Tom Arkia? Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yes, please come forward, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Tom Markwell. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Theta Care, and I'm here representing the partnership between Theta Care and our partners Freighter on the recommendation from the Planning Commission. So first, let me say I really appreciate the work by the city and the city staff. They've been incredibly helpful with this process for us, and I can't thank them enough. In addition to that, we're very excited to be here. We look forward to being part of the community, look forward to the future of building this facility together. And we've been around over 100 years, and we intend this to be around for 100 years as well. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for coming. I think many of us are excited to see some activity there. And do we have any other questions or council discussion? Actually, we need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on the general development plan for the hospital. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, no question, just a thank you, appreciation for Theta and Theta Freighter, the interest level in coming to Oshkosh. And not only just Oshkosh, but our central city, calling downtown home and putting a hospital medical facility on the, on the riverfront, but basically for our east side community. A big thing for this city. So thank you very much to Theta.
You're very welcome. It's an honor.
Thank you again. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Mayor, I believe we have a member of the,
Is there someone else who'd
Yes.
like to speak on this item? Please.
I'm a citizen, I was doing something that needed to be done for a friend of mine that really
Okay,
needed it.
so is this on this item?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to inform you, Theodore Clark is coming to Oshkosh, and the executive or the head administration.
Patricia, can you step forward so we can hear you a little better with the mic there?
Okay, I been at Theodore Clark in town, in Neenah, Fond du Lac. I am happy they're coming. I don't show partiality anymore. I try to hit all the hospitals, not that I want to, but if I have to, I do. And I don't know how to thank Theodore Clark for what they've done for me. And the gentleman of the big hospital did a major thing that I could never expect. When you get a bill for $14,000, what do you do? Who's at fault? Who's not at fault? But you know what? The hospital stepped up. It's not, I'm the type that takes anything for nothing. And when we can bring another hospital here, because I can't show partiality anymore. I have a person that I know that's been an RN. And you got to go where you got to go to work. And I just am very happy when I heard it on the television. That guy has tried to work in a lot of places, even with doctors. And you know, you got to work together to see what happened. We're going to get another hospital here. instead of Nina, Fond du Lac, all over, wherever the hospitals and the doctors are. And we're all the nurses, doctors, everybody, are heroes. Our firemen, our police. Because that's where they need to go. We need hospitals close by. And I know that it was in the hands of the Lord and the hands of the people to make this work. And I'll tell you, there's doctors, Dr. Mitchell, there's a lot of doctors. And all these doctors do a lot of support for this whole cities. They give a lot back and they receive. And I'd like to talk at the citizen statement, but I thank the head gentleman of Theater Clark for what they've done for me. And you know, this is what the doctors all said, Patty, don't worry about it. Things will work out the way they're supposed to. And I said, you know, I don't worry anymore. But thank you for the talk.
Thank you. And just to be clear, again, this is Theta Care and Freighter, so, all right. Well, if we have no further discussion, go ahead and please call the roll.
Erickson?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Mugrower?
Aye?
Hanson?
Aye.
Wojciechowski?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 6.
Thank you. And our next and final new resolution is 22-511. Approve recommendations, pay schedule, classification assignment list, and corresponding adjustments resulting from the City of Oshkosh compensation review for all non-represented benefited employees.
So moved.
Second?
And we didn't have anyone registered on this, I'm assuming?
We did not.
Okay. All right, discussion on 22-511. Councilmember Ford.
Yeah, two things. First, I want to point out for my analytic method students the real-world use of regression analysis in this. It actually is a real thing. But more importantly, for you, Assistant City Manager Fitzpatrick, what's the actual price that this is going to cost? Because I know the memo says it's going to cost less than we budgeted,
Right.
but I didn't find an actual number in there.
Well, I just have to, with full disclosure, this, the costs are an estimate because
Yeah.
we have vacant positions, so that's part of this. But the total amount estimated at this point is $995,000 approximately.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I believe, what has it been, over 10 years since this was last measured?
Yes, we've done a few mini studies since actually the last full-blown study was done in 2012, right after Acts 10 and 32. But this is the full, complete study that's been taking place since that time.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions on this item? Please call the roll.
Erickson?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Mugrower?
Aye?
Hanson? Wojciechowski?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 6.
All right, we're at council discussion and direction of city manager and future agenda items. Future agenda item for adoption of the 2023 utility budgets and rates. Is that December
The
9th?
goal is to bring it to you at the December meeting. I believe it's the 13th. I think I had it in I put it in your head that it was the 9th. That's my mistake.
Ah.
No, it's the 13th.
All right. Deputy Mayor?
Yes. City Manager Roloff, I know we got a memo, an update regarding the meetings you've had with the surrounding municipalities for sewer service that we provide to them. When you bring us these, to adopt the 23 utility rates and budgets, I assume that's going to include wastewater service? And how close, it's going to be tough it's tough to put a date to negotiations, but the impact of those discussions, the potential for an agreement, the impact it has on those rates, as our ratepayers tend to pay more for services than they should, maybe, because we're subsidizing the surrounding communities. When can we expect, what would be your hope to maybe see something in terms of any impact of any agreements we may get?
I'm going to try to completely dodge your question and defer to the city attorney, but there's not a date specific, but we've been having very good meetings and good
And some of the
progress.
agreements carry through till September of next year. All of the town of Oshkosh agreements.
Yeah, Shangri-La, Sunset.
James is
those-
nodding at me, so I am correct, on town of Oshkosh. So it's Edgewood, Shangri-La, Island View, and I'm missing one. It's the town of Oshkosh
Sure.
one, that they actually, their agreement goes through September of next year.
Okay.
So,
So that's when it would take impact for them. The other ones would depend on when we finally settle. But I think we're making good progress. There's an agreement that we are sending our respective utility rate experts into their own room to really go through methodology issues. There were some good questions raised at the last meeting. So, I mean, I would like to be optimistic and hope that we could get it in the first quarter. And just because I've said those words, I've kind of put myself on a timeline, and I got her shaking her head. So that means it's
just put more pressure on me.
it's going to be,
That's okay.
but it's getting the final, not just the rates, but some of the other little issues that are going to take place. It's going to depend on some of the wild cards. You know, we've been having some ongoing issues with the Algoma Sanitary District. That could be a wild card that could delay this. If we're trying to get everybody on the same agreement, that could be the real challenge.
If there's not an agreement in a reasonable amount of time, there is a mechanism for council to set those rates for those payers. Is that through this process that you're going to bring to us at the end of '23 here?
If we see a delay that we think could go on, we could bring back to council, they could impose their own rates. And I think their attorney has acknowledged that he recognizes that we have that right, which I think was an acknowledgement that they want to work in good faith with us. And I'm certainly Mr. St. Peter, who we've been working with, both of us have worked with Mr. St. Peter on and off over the last 30 years. He's a good person to work with, and that's good to have the opposite side of the table, somebody you can work with.
I'll be done right there. That's good enough for now. Thank you.
For now, and I understand that as well.
And we'll also be looking at the lifeline rate in that discussion, correct, for the water?
We will, when we hear
the
back from the
preliminary.
PSC, but we're, once we hear back from the PSC, we'll be talking about water rates. And that will be a discussion for council. That has not been decided by council. That's just been, we'll include that in the range of options for council.
And then we have a closed session December 13th to finalize city manager's review. And do we have a date yet on reviewing the beer garden ordinances and processes?
No, we don't, but we wanted to make sure that the council had an opportunity to ask questions. We had provided the memo previously, but we made sure that we provided you a copy in case there was something in particular. I will point out, even though there were some questions, this is totally coincidental with our discussion about DORA, that we've received a request. This was initiated by staff, and I want to thank the clerk's office because our new deputy clerk, Sabrina, had some experience with that, pointed out, and was just asking innocent questions and kind of started the ball rolling on this thing, and we all recognized, I think Mr. Lyons was involved in it, Chief Smith, city attorney's office, city clerk's office, and myself. And we recognized that there were some things that were being done inconsistently because some people thought they could use one part of the code to get a license and another part of the code for another way. And this way, we're looking to consolidate it and develop thresholds that say, if you hit this threshold, you move into one category or the next category. We recognize a special event process also factors into that as well. Lynn,
And-
I mean, I gave you
And
a
there's
real
also the
sketch.
geography of the DORA itself, that many of these
beer gardens are in as well. So will we be looking at those on the same day? Both the Dora and the beer garden?
We could, I would view them as separate items, but because the Dora is only about carrying drinks up and down the street versus the multiple impacts that these various events, and I'm using I'll use the small e for events. Sometimes it gets into special events with a capital S and capital E, but these are things that would happen regardless of the status of a Dora. This would happen anywhere and everywhere in town, isn't that correct?
They're not limited to the downtown
Right.
area.
But they're just concentrated down there.
Arguably, yes.
I'd have to look. I'd have to look. I don't know for sure where.
Do we have a number or a map or any kind of data on how many beer gardens or the breakdown? Because I know in the memo that we'd gotten, there was some discussion about the difference between some of the special events and some of the other, like, temporary structures and.
Yeah, we kind of, what we're proposing, right now, the process is a little different than what we're proposing. What we were proposing would have a better breakdown. I think right now, there's a little bit of a disconnect in our process, and so we're trying to kind of get everybody on the same page, and Mark's coming up to help me. But what we're proposing is to still have a spot for that kind of administrative review. It's a quicker process. But when we talked about it, we said we want that to be something that is really no anticipated disruption or very little disruption. So no amplified noise or music, no, smaller groups of people, less than 75 people at any one time. You're not putting up tents and stages and lighting, things like that. And that in those kind of situations, we thought, that's something we can kind of keep that quicker process in place for. And then the temporary use permit, which I'll start, and you can see he moved up to the microphone now, so he's, but that's more for, that's 75 to 250 people, because even with 250 people, you're starting to generate more noise, even if you don't have amplified sound or music. And then, obviously, amplified sound or music kicks you into that. Temporary structures, are you putting up a stage or a tent or something that, again, tends to mean you're going to have more people, tends to concentrate that noise. And then we also added in for both of those some review by all of the entities that, or all of the parts of the city that kind of should be looking at them, we thought. Initially, the clerk's office, from what we could find from past experience, was kind of, they were just approving them. We've added in now that police and zoning would take a look at them, and maybe, Mark, you can jump in and help me out.
Yeah, when we started digging into this, I think we really realized there wasn't a clear distinction of what some of these events were. And depending upon where an individual may have went, they may have got a different answer. Maybe they got a beer garden that probably should have been a special use, or they got a special use that could have been a beer garden. And as we really dug into it, there wasn't a clear definition and reason of which one of those should have been used for what type of event. So what Attorney Lawrence and the City Clerk's Office, City Manager's Office, we tried to better differentiate what those are versus what the impacts they have. As Attorney Lawrence said, if they're a very small event, less than 75 people, no amplified music, no stage, that was the intent of what a beer garden was. First, when you get into special events, you have maybe a tent and music, and that's where our TUP limits the number of times a year. So you have a little bit bigger of event, and we want to limit the number of times you have in a year because that has a larger impact on the surrounding area. First, those very large events that need that special events permit because we're looking at the bigger, greater all impact of those events. This proposed change would really help to differentiate those different types of uses, the impacts they have on the property and the surrounding area.
Thank you.
So we'll be bringing this back, so short answer to your previous question, it may or may not be with Dora. I think those can be independent of one another, and hopefully this explanation gave you an understanding of that.
But it would seem that this, if I'm thinking about this correctly, that this would come before the DORA in terms of sequence, or?
No, I don't see,
No?
I don't see the need. You could go either way.
Yeah, the only thing we were looking at was bringing it in, January, because we wanted to get it passed so that information could be sent out with the license packets for the year, and those typically go out in March, and to give ourselves time to make copies and do all that. That was our target for bringing it early in the year, so that we can get that information put
Are
together
tho-
and sent out.
Are those license cycles the same as our liquor
Those are the
license?
ones,
the
yep,
June-
that
June?
you,
Okay.
what you vote on in June just
Okay.
starts on in March, so.
Yes, their packets will go out in middle of March, and then they have to have everything back to us so that you can make your approvals at the end of June.
Thank you very much. All right. Future workshops to be determined on street lights.
You may have recalled that Mr. Collins had put a newsletter article together a few weeks ago. I just wanted to pretty much bring this to your attention because we have an issue that I think is emerging, specifically related to concrete light poles that we lease from WPS. WPS has been desiring to get rid of concrete light poles for a variety of reasons. And so what they're seeking, and there are about 69 of them citywide. They've got 10 that they've identified that they would like some immediate direction on. But they want to know what we want them replaced with. If we were to replace them with wooden poles, there's no capital cost up front. They charge us a lease rate that's, we already know it's in there. They're regulated just like our water utility is. So those are predetermined rates of the Public Service Commission. To the degree that we want something different, they also have some black fiberglass poles, black colored fiberglass poles. We have about 450 of those throughout the city. So and those have a cost of about $2,600 per pole. So WPS wants direction. I'll do the math real quick for you, Mike. We're looking at, for the first 10, that's about $26,000. For the 69 concrete poles that they want to get rid of over the next 5 years, it's $175,000 to $200,000. And that doesn't include the math. And you can do the math on the 450 because we're talking of a large amount of money. That's going to be a much longer period because the fiberglass poles tend to have a pretty good life. We're satisfied with that. But to the degree they get damaged, we'd have to replace them. Just as a matter of course, I noticed when this issue came up that the subdivision I'm in, which was in the late 90s, they had black poles that were put up by the developer, but oddly enough, there's a wooden pole in front of my house, and I never understood why. Well, we theorized what happened was somebody must have hit it years ago, and when the city was faced with that question, the city replaced it with a wooden pole. My point is that I think we need a policy to determine when we're going to do that or not. But if we make a decision that we're going to go with the fiberglass poles, that's a $2,600 per pole decision. So you're probably looking at $1 million to $2 million for those 450 poles. That's a much longer replacement schedule, so I don't want to alarm you to that, but that's the volume that we're talking about. But certainly, we're looking at, with those concrete poles with the next 5 years, do we replace them with wooden poles? And everybody has an opinion about wooden poles. Frankly, I don't care, and I didn't even notice that I had wooden pole compared to my other neighbors until this issue came up. I knew I had a wooden pole, but I didn't realize everybody else in the neighborhood didn't. Other people are a little more serious about it than I've just described it, and I know the passion is going to come out. I wanted to alert you to this. We're going to be needing to make some policy recommendations to you, and probably warrants a workshop. So I don't think I've done justice to the whole topic, and Mr. Collins has been looking at this for many months now, knowing that this concrete light pole issue is going to come emerging. Jim, is there anything I missed on that you want to point out?
No, I think that summed it up pretty well. The only additional thing I'll point out is in addition to the street light poles, we also have black utility poles, which they haven't really, we met with them a couple weeks ago and they're still researching that a little bit, but there is some, they're giving us some hints that they are going to be asking us to pay for, like on Jackson Street, for instance, some of those need to be replaced, and they're currently researching whether that cost would be on them if we went with black utility poles, or if they would be asking us for that. And that's for a different reason. The main reason, I won't give you all the technical details, but the main reason is we think that they put those there for some of their reasons, being that they had a narrow terrace width and they might not have been able to fit the wood poles in the terrace, so they're researching that. But anyway, in addition to the streetlights, there's also the issue of the utility poles. So Mark summed up the issue of the light poles, but that's just another thing that's coming down the line as well. And like Mark had mentioned, I mean, some citizens don't notice it at all and probably don't care, but then we have some other ones that we get calls from that are very passionate about what their streetlight looks like. So I think that's.
How many of the utility poles might there be? Do you have a rough?
I don't know if I have that number.
Versus
I guess-
the light poles, the
Yeah.
light poles are 451, but yeah.
Yeah, they haven't given us that number yet. I know on Jackson Street, there was maybe 40 or so. If you start at Church and you go all the way down to Murdoch, those are all black fiberglass utility poles, and they identified 5 to 10 of them that they thought needed to be replaced soon. So it's something
So-
we're gonna have to make a policy decision.
I was just going to say, maybe, I mean, I'm sure that it's a significant difference, but I know there's been talk over the years too, you know, what does it look like cost-wise for underground for some of those? So it might be
Then you're
part of the
talking millions
comparison.
of dollars for the burial, but the issue is right now, more immediate, what do we do with these poles? And I saw the acknowledgement that many of you gave me, so I'm sure that you've had a conversation at one point or another with a resident who has that passion about streetlights and poles that referred to. So I think it warrants it warrants a workshop, and we're probably looking early January to have this discussion.
Yeah, they asked, in September, they sent us a letter. The 10 that are immediate concern are in the Huron, White Swan, kind of that northeast area neighborhood.
You're welcome, Mike.
So
I got all 3 on my street. I'm lucky.
So they wanted an answer in 60 days, so early November, and we told them we're not going to have an answer by then. They were fine with that, but we do need to give them an answer before they start planning these for early spring. So that's kind of the timeline.
Okay, thank you.
Hope I framed it for you.
All right, we're at council member announcements and statements. Just like to announce that on December 1st, the holiday parade has typically been a little bit earlier than that, but this year it is on December 1st, I believe at 6 p.m., and there's some festivities leading up to that, the tree lighting and music and things, all festive at that point. I see, Patricia, you're,
I was going to ask a question, plus I didn't get to talk at citizen statement, but I wanted to ask the gentleman, I know that people that pick color poles, I know they started from 1,700 or up to replace them, and I wondered what it would cost for the wooden ones now to replace them, and what your price would be, like you said, for the fiberglass ones. Because I know people have issues with power poles slide in the snow, anything. You're supposed to have your car under control. Then you get people that have too much, they hit one, and then they gotta replace it, so.
So that might be something, if you want to follow up and make a call to Mr. Collins and talk with him about. Okay, thank you.
Public service has done a lot for us.
Thank you. All right, do we have any council, any other statements? All right, we're on to city, oh, sorry. Councilmember Erickson.
Sorry. Just one report out, Transit Advisory Board met last week. I was not able to attend, but just a heads up about the Access to Jobs program. This likely will be coming, I think, to council soon. So the Access to Jobs program, it's a shared ride demand response transportation service for people with low income getting to and from work. Go Transit applied for a grant through Oshkosh United Way, received it, and that will increase the income limit. Currently, that program is for folks who are at or below 225% of the federal poverty level. That's about an hourly wage of $14.70 for a family of one. This grant would increase that to 275% of the federal poverty level. That's about $17.97 per hour. So hopefully capturing a few more folks who would be eligible for that program, and that'll come to council for approval shortly.
Just if I could ask a quick question on that. Is that Access to Jobs program only for adults, or does that include youth or teens also? Do you know? Does anybody know? Oh, Mr. Collins.
Yeah, we don't have any age restrictions on it, so.
Okay.
It's just basically the basic requirements, and it will be coming to the next council agenda, but you have to be a City of Oshkosh resident, work 30 hours or more per week, and meet the income requirements are the three basic things.
Thank you. Great addition. Gotten a few calls on that, on the income limits. And all right. City manager announcements and statements.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple memos in your agenda packet. One is with AECom, an annual contract we typically enter into with AECom because they have a local office for stormwater management assistance, the on-call type of stuff over the course of the year. And we have another one in here for some roof replacements over at the wastewater treatment plant and water filtration plant. Nothing to do with the Clear Wells project. These are kind of maintenance type of projects that we've got to get going on there. Number 39, I just wanted to point out because we typically come to council with a omnibus type of fee resolution. That was something that the Long Range Finance Committee recommended several years ago. Because of staffing issues and whatnot, I don't think we're in a position to make any specific recommendations beyond the utility ones that we've, our resolution in that case says you bring those annually to council. So we will continue to do that because of the financial impact of those. And we did the snow one because of the increase in the contract that council just approved that earlier this evening. As far as the other fees, staff has taken a look at it, and we feel that it's not appropriate given, given different situations that people are undergoing. We're still bringing back special events slowly, that we're not going to make any other recommendations at this time on any fee increases for 2023. So I just wanted to kind of get that out there because I know oftentimes it's like, oh, you're charging this and that fees. We don't have any intent of increasing fees this year other than the ones I previously mentioned. I don't have anything to forward to you this evening, but I have two other nonprofit requests for ARPA funds that I will be bringing forward to council in the next meeting or so. It'll probably be the next meeting because that's or so would take us into 2023. So I'll be bringing those. And just full disclosure, I don't have the details, but one is for day-by-day warming shelter for some additional costs they've incurred regarding design costs for their project, and for the site prep work for the tiny homes project. Those are the two. So just giving you a heads up, but that those requests have come in, and I'll be evaluating those and making my recommendation to you, most likely at the December 13th meeting. So when I get the thumbnail sketch, and I've typically given you that thumbnail sketch, I'll get it to you as soon as possible. Won't be this week because it's a short week, but we'll get it to you shortly. And outstanding issues, we've done some updating on that one. You'll notice that I added the graffiti item and the boards and commissions study, and I'll be bringing that back to council. But I got it on there, so it's on my to-do list, so I get it to you after the first of the year. And that's all I have, unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Deputy Mayor, we have a motion for closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that following the adjournment of this meeting, the council may convene into closed session to discuss pursuant to Section 19.85, Parents 1, Parents C of the Wisconsin State Statutes, the performance, evaluation, and compensation regarding the city manager and employee over which the common council has jurisdiction and exercises responsibility.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Nope, need a roll on this one.
Please call the roll.
Erickson?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Mugrower?
Aye.
Hanson?
Aye.
Wojciechowski?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 6.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.